Welcome to Living the Reiki Life podcast. Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Christy, and we're coming at you from the Prairie Province of Saskatchewan, Canada.
We met in the corporate world over a decade ago and became great friends. We started our Reiki journey together, and now we are Reiki Masters. Follow along as we navigate life living the spiritual world while still working the 9 to 5.
We gather twice a month to chat all about Reiki and our Reiki journeys, energy healing, and other healing modalities.
We are going to interview some of our gurus and cover a vast majority of topics that we find interesting, and hopefully you do too. Let's get at it.
Hey, welcome guys to the Living the Reiki Life podcast. You're here with Amanda and I, and it is episode 19. And we're just starting February out. And yeah, we have a really amazing guest today, like our first international guest. We are so excited to share her with you. But first, we want to dive into the astrology, and Amanda's got that all ready for us.
Yes, welcome in everyone. Okay, so quick astrology update for you before we get into our guest. So February 9th, we have the new moon, and it's going to be in Aquarius. And the really neat thing about Aquarius, it is an air sign, so just kind of like that expression and talking things out. And it's also the star in the tarot deck, so major arcana, the number 17. And it's really interesting. It's like the new moon is all about manifesting. And I was thinking of this like how we wish upon a star. So it's like, it's funny that new moon is in Aquarius, and it's like, now is the time, you know, when you see those like numbers 1111 and you like on the microwave or the clock at work and you still make the wish like I always do. And it's like, this is really going to be, I feel like the month to really get your manifestations in place for the really good things that are actually going to come in this year. Because this is really going to be a cool year. We get into it in the podcast, but really take advantage of this full moon on February 9th in Aquarius and like write out your wish list, even if it's something that's not quite, you know, in your grasp, or you're like, well, how am I even going to get there? Write it out and like shoot big. Definitely reach for the stars. Use that Aquarius energy. And then the next one, we have the full moon coming in Virgo in February 24th. So this was like the full snow moon, which is pretty fitting considering if you live anywhere with snow, we are in a quite deep of it right now. And Virgo is an earth sign and actually the hermit. So I feel like now is kind of when we're going to start like shedding that hermit skin. Like Christy and I have kind of been talking about how we kind of been living in the cave for a bit and just feeling really inside. And I think we're going to slowly start shedding that with this full moon here. Like the hermit, he has a little lantern that he holds in the tarot deck. And he is just like, you know, shining light on like the new, like, where am I going? What path am I going on? Like, let's leave the other stuff behind us and start walking into the new. So like shedding that old skin. I think it's going to be a really good time to just have that awareness. If you do full moon rituals, that would be something I would say, what do I want to leave behind and start 2024 with anew?
I love that. I'm excited about that new moon.
I know. I got to do something. I'm thinking about even doing my money magic spell again, to be honest.
Ooh.
I think that's going to be a really good time. I actually felt it went really well the last time I did it. I definitely noticed an influx in my business and just random other money coming in. And I'm going to do it again, I think, because that's a really good, I love that, the star. So
yeah.
Anyone else want to join us or me? I didn't ask Christy yet, but I'm definitely going to partake and I'll Instagram it.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I got to think about it. Got some time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, enjoy the episode, everyone. Natalie is a gem, and you're going to love this episode.
Yes, enjoy.
And get your notepad and pencil out to figure out your life path number. We go through that as well.
Yes. So if you guys have been listening to our podcast for a while, you've heard Amanda and I talk about the Spirit Speakers podcast. It's one of our favorites, and they have like the best guests and the best topics. And there was one episode that really stood out to us, and it was all about numerology. And I learned so much from it. And Amanda listened to it too. And we were both blown away by Natalie. She goes by the numerology chick. We talked about how amazing it would be if she could come on our podcast. And Amanda's like, well, let's just message her and ask her, like, why not? And Natalie said yes, and we were so excited. And she's actually here with us today to chat all about numbers and what lies ahead for the year of 2024. And we're so grateful for her time today. So Natalie is a spiritual coach and a numerologist. She's helped best-selling authors, CEOs, and celebrities help understand their numerology and become a rock star co-creator with the universe. And she describes her work as waking up every morning and it feels like Christmas. Like, how amazing and inspiring is that? So let's welcome Natalie to the Living the Reiki Life podcast.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Welcome in. We're so excited today.
Yes, me too. Me too. We're recording this in January, the end of January. And I'm really excited about that because according to numerology, the new year doesn't really pick up steam until February. And so I think this is the perfect time to kind of like get amped up and to tune in to what 2024 is about and whatever else we want to talk about today, because we're kind of still in the old energy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that does make sense. And I actually I'm kind of just going to jump here. So I actually wanted to talk about this January energy because not just myself, but others that I've talked to, it kind of feels like we're having this dark night of the soul going on. And I was just really curious. Like, I'm finally passing through it legit, like today as we record. I'm finally airing now and it feels really good. But I had a really awful 2 weeks and I was like, is this like how this year is supposed to start? Because I feel like this year is going to be so awesome. But are we just kind of cleaning up from the last year and then February we'll move into this great new beginning?
You know, what's so funny about that is I was just talking to a girlfriend about an hour ago about this. No joke. Last night, I was on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m., couldn't sleep. And I was like journaling about sort of all of these very deep topics that are really under the auspices of the number 8 in numerology, victimhood and disempowerment and giving our power away. And so, no, I totally relate. And so many of my clients are all saying the same thing. And they feel such relief when they kind of hear that January in numerology is a 9 universal month. And, the 9 is not easy, and it's not easy, especially when it's under the umbrella of the 8. So the 9 is like purification. It's cleansing, it's releasing, it's letting go. But because it's under the umbrella of the 8, it's cleansing, releasing, and letting go of those really crafty ways that we fall into victim mode. Those really crafty ways that we fall into poverty consciousness or the victim mentality, which, you know, I read a long time ago. I think it was the numerologist. Her name is Sue Frederick. She said something that stuck with me. She said the 8 out of all of the numbers is one of the hardest. It doesn't have to necessarily be, but what we're really grappling with is something that humans have been grappling with for thousands of years, which is the proper use of power. And so anyways, yeah, it's been a bit intense, but it's good because if we're feeling hit hard, it's number one, because we are not at the new beginning yet. I think that a lot of us beat ourselves up for like not feeling that mojo yet. And that's just because it's divine timing, right? The mojo is going to come mid-February. The motivation, the inspiration, the like, let's freaking go will come in the middle of February. But I also think that if there are those of us who are hit hard, especially by like old memories or things from the past, it is because the 0, that's what I call God or source, because I'm a numerologist, that the 0, that infinite intelligence wants so deeply for us to actually tap into what this year has as a potential, which is true empowerment to truly become the CEO of our lives, which is only going to happen if we're willing to cleanse those habits of giving our power away.
Yeah. Okay. That like makes me feel a lot better. And I'm sure other people as well. Sorry to just kind of bombard the start of the podcast with like my
A lot.
dark night I've been going through. But no, that's really good. That's really comforting to know that we're just kind of in the like completing of last cycle. And I do feel this energy of February is going to be really good. And I've been kind of holding on to that and just knowing that this is just something that needs to happen. And we always kind of level up. So it feels super fitting that
Yes.
that's where that's going. Yes. So just to kind of back up a bit. So, Natalie, so like tell us a little bit about yourself and how numerology like found you. You have a really awesome story. I just want to our listeners to hear.
Yeah. In my early 20s, I was a nutritionist. And I had just started my own nutrition practice. And I mean, this is what's so ironic about this story is I was walking my talk. I was doing everything in the physical world that one would do to be healthy. I ate an immaculate diet. I worked out every day, but I got really sick. And I was basically nearly bedridden for about over 6 months. It was hard to walk from one corner of the room to the other. And I tried everything to heal. And I remember we had spent the last amount of money that we had to go to a doctor in Santa Rosa, California. And he's like, you have the white blood cell count of a chemo patient, but we can't figure out what this is. I think you might just have this forever. So you just have to go home and like learn to deal with this condition. And the only thing I could do at the time was read. And there was this old box of books that I had from when I was like a teenager. And the book at the top was by Matthew Goodwin. It was a numerology book. And he was an MIT graduate mathematician dude, super smart guy. And I crunched my numbers. And I learned in that moment why I was sick. I learned in that moment that I was working against my true nature, that I was living my life and engaging in relationship and engaging in businesses in such a way that weren't honoring the way that I was designed. And so I started to see that clients were getting more results from learning about like these little numerology tidbits than they were getting from menu plans. I started to see that happen with my girlfriends. I started seeing that happen with family members, is that I was able to empower people into confidence and self-love and positive change from this work than from the other work I had been doing. And so I transitioned into becoming a numerologist and spiritual coach, and I healed. I think, gosh, I started to see relief within 2 to 4 weeks, and I was completely healed within months from something that doctors had said was going to take me, that I would have it for a lifetime.
Wow.
That's the short version. It was definitely not like easy peasy to transition from nutrition to numerology. But it was a calling that I embraced.
Yeah. Our last episode, we talked about how we like store emotions in our body and how it turns into like disease and how it can manifest into like physical ailments. And it's like the actual proof of it's exactly kind of what had happened. And there was
Yeah.
no medical anything that you could do to fix it. It was like you knew energetically you weren't aligned. And then you just miraculously healed.
Yeah. And it's something that I think is a thing for so many clients that I work with too, is that there's usually some kind of crisis, or where we're brought to our knees, where we uncover our calling. And I would never ever, my ego was too great, never would have thought to go this route. Such an unconventional route. I mean, I had my Italian father say, "What the heck are you doing, Natalie? Like, are you insane?" I had people tell me I was going to starve under a bridge, you know. Yeah, I had a lot of that, but you know, but it was, it really, when you do everything in the physical world to get physically better and it doesn't work, and then you go to that other place and you go into the spiritual realm, and that's what moves the needle. Yeah, you can't look back.
No.
Absolutely not. Hey.
That is amazing. And it almost like makes me think of like you can't heal in the environment that made you sick. I always like think of like my journey and leaving somewhere that made me sick. And I had a lot of health issues that I've spent thousands of dollars going to specialists trying to figure this out. And I left that place, that toxic place, and my issue cleared up within like 2 months. And I was just like, what? This does not make sense to like any doctor, or like my herbalist was even like, what is going on here? It's wild.
It is. And I think, you know, and this is where we could get into like core charts and birth numerology, but such a huge part of my mission is getting people to fall in love with themselves and the unique way that they were designed. And I feel like the most fundamental form of stress that we can experience is where we're in environments or relationships or jobs that tolerate who we are versus embrace who we are.
Right.
And I think that's what you and I probably both experienced to some degree. Is like, if you were designed by your creator to, for instance, be a one life path and be the pioneer woman who's going her way and doing her own thing, but she's in an environment that's predicated on conforming and doing other people tell her, you're not going to thrive, and your physical body will be a reflection of that for sure. Right. Yeah.
That's the right word. Yeah. Like that word tolerate. It's like, yeah, our bodies will tolerate it, but they won't thrive. That's like the perfect way to sum that up. Hey.
I feel like a lot of us know toxicity in the form of criticism for sure. And that's something to get that, sorry for cussing maybe, but get the hell out of there. Right. But I think that we can miss when we're simply tolerated. Or, right, like where instead of being cherished and embraced for these gifts that we have, we're told or asked to diminish them, or we just have the belief inside of ourselves that that's not something that should be welcome and expressed. So that's what's so much fun about numerology, is that's this beautiful fast track way to fall in love with yourself. And these numbers sort of validate, oh, wait, there's nothing wrong with me. This is why I'm different from my girlfriend. This is why I can't succeed going the path that my father or mother did or whatever. It's like, oh, it's like a love note from your creator and a beautiful insurance policy for alignment.
Yeah, like what's better than getting to know yourself like at that level? It's like almost like being handed like your blueprint of like, hey, this is why you are the way you are. And then, yeah, just like a map of how to navigate life. It's like almost, I picture like someone being born and then handed like their numerology at that point. Like, here's your path. I'm going to save you a lot of heartache if you master what is on this piece of paper.
Totally. It's like your own user manual.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like that's like the biggest thing everyone wants to know. It's like, why am I here? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
What am I good at? What am I supposed to do? Like, I feel like all of us just crave those answers. I know I do. And Natalie, you mentioned astrology. So do you think like numerology and astrology really kind of go hand in hand? Like with you mentioned the birth chart. Like, does it all kind of come together?
Actually, I just did a podcast interview earlier today, and with the amazing astrologer, and we were riffing on that. I think that all of these different modalities are different languages of God. They're different languages of the divine intelligence behind existence. I Whenever I studied astrology, I just became a deer in headlights, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, I love it. I love it. But it's the weirdest thing that for whatever reason, this language, numerology, spoke to my soul. So yeah, I think that there's so many different modalities and different ways that we can tap into that and get to know ourselves. And we just have to find the one that speaks to our soul.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm the same. I look at astrology and I'm like, it's like reading a whole different language. You're right. I
Yeah.
wish I could. Some
Yeah, me
people can
too.
just naturally do it. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we dive into what 2024 has in store for us?
Yeah. So let me first, to set the stage, cover a couple of basic things. So I would say in numerology, we could say there's like two elements of numerology. One is studying the patterns within ourselves and our own charts. And the other one is studying like the patterns that are around us. And so when we talk about the universal cycles that we're going through, what we're talking about is a territory that we're collectively traversing together, humanity. So 2023 was a 7 universal year. This last year was very important because it's a key to our success this year. So we need to just cover it really quick. So the 7 universal year was the year of the mystic, or the year of the hermit. And the 7 pulls us inward. It pulls us away from the noise of community, from the noise of the tribe, so that we can hear the usually eccentric and unusual whispers of our own calling and our own soul. Typically, during the 7 cycle, people touch or awaken to their purpose. It's sort of like you receive the download, you're kissed by the message or the vision, or even just like the values that matter the most to you. And this is so important because whatever you uncovered in 2023 of what matters to you, that message, that calling, those are your roots for success as we move into 2024, which is a year of coming out of the hermit cave with the treasure that you unearthed and sharing it. This is so incredibly key. So I just want to make sure that for people that are listening, that you can like pause this right now and like journal on what were those things that I discovered. And if you're kind of like big question mark, nothing's coming up, I would encourage you to Google how to find my values. Like there's a ton of free articles on how to find your non-physical values, like your top 3 values that drive you and that motivate you. That's another way that you can come at this if you maybe didn't have enough solitude or reflection time in 2023 to access that unique message or calling. Does all of that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, it's really important because I've worked with a lot of 8s over the last decade. And 2024 being an 8 universal year makes people really excited, and you should be excited because the 8 is typically, when you read about it, it's about prosperity and abundance and power and wealth and success and prestige and authority. But those are all byproducts of something that's so much deeper. They're number one byproducts of somebody who is connected to that deeper purpose. And that's why we go through the 7 before we get to the 8. That's why it's designed that way, right? We go through that rite of passage. And I think it's a beautiful sort of model of development, 1 through 9. It's basically the universe source sort of saying, I don't want anybody to get access to power first before going through the 7. So that really will serve us, that we are loyal not to, I want to manifest X amount of money, or I want to manifest a dream partner, like that we're not loyal to the external world things, but we're first and foremost loyal to the calling or the values that drive us. And that when we do that, we're able to then be far more proficient as we move into 2024. And we're able to actually reap the rewards of the 8. And the 8 is more of the year of the CEO, the master manifester, the powerhouse. I mean, this is sort of where we come out of the cave, and it's like, now it's time to enrobe our values with physical stuff. Now it's time to play in the holodeck of physical reality. Now it's time to confront any part of us that says that we can't have what we want or do what we want to do, that's stuck in any form of limitation. Because ultimately the 8 just wants to move to the next spiritual level, which is, it's not spiritual to stay in the cave. It's not spiritual to stay quiet. That's not spiritual, right? Why would you deprive your values of being enrobed and crystallized in the physical world? Like, why would you deprive that beautiful piece of art being made? But so many of us do that when we're working with the 8, we're afraid of making money, or we're afraid of being seen, or afraid of sharing, we're afraid of marketing, we're afraid of, I'm using all these words very strategically because they're all under the umbrella of the 8, which oftentimes, by the way, like, when people read about the 8, it doesn't sound like a very spiritual number, because you'll read about goal setting, accomplishing, perseverance, dedication, business, commerce, all of these things. But it's coming from a place of, I want to manifest in the physical world what is within me, or what I say matters to me.
Yeah. So Christy and I are actually both 8s, and you're an 8 as well.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So, like, what does that mean for our fellow 8s? And we'll go through our life path number as well. But like, what does that mean for us?
So you guys are both,
that means we're going to.
Well, just to clarify, you're both 8 life paths?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So for listeners, we have a bunch of different numbers in our chart in different positions, but the ones that are the ones I focus on first with my clients that are the most impactful are the life path number and the expression number. The life path number is derived from our birth date. And all 3 of us are 8 life paths. The life path is our purpose and our calling. It's not so much who we are, which is fascinating. That's our expression number. The 8 is our calling. So it's sort of like we're unrolling a scroll that's saying, this is what we're here to do. Okay. Even if we're like, no, I'm not. Like, so what I found was really interesting is that the life path number there's an itchiness to it usually. There's a denial of it usually initially. We're usually more resonant with our expression number. But so the 8 life path means that our calling is to step into the role of being the CEO and the powerhouse and being the authority in our own lives. It means that our purpose and our calling is to accumulate power, wisdom, and wealth and share it with other people. But what's really interesting about the 8 is that, and this is going to be a theme throughout this episode talking about the 8, is that it's about bridging 2 worlds. The 8 is one world on top of the other. So usually 8s are very spiritual people, but they're practical spiritualists. There's a groundedness to the 8 that you might not see with other people that are in the spiritual movement. Like people that maybe just have a lot of 7 energy or a lot of like 1 energy might be a little bit more ahead in the clouds, if that makes sense. 8s are very spiritual, but there's like a grounded energy to it. because ultimately what we want to do is we want to take the magic of source and we want to play with it in the physical world. We want to show people that they can become creators. We want to show people that they have capacity and authority in their own lives. But here's what's fascinating about the 8 life path. I'm curious if you guys resonate with this at all. Usually to become proficient in the mission, you have to go through training. And the training of the 8 is giving their power away or being under the thumb of an authority figure. And so it can be a parent that was maybe just a very like dominant parent, you know, it's my way or the highway. But oftentimes it also expresses itself in the first 1 or 2 serious relationships as well. 8s are notorious for making other people money, or helping other people succeed, right? Like being the cheerleader on the sidelines, like you can do it, you know, to the spouse or to the partner or to the boss or to the friend, right? While their very kingdom is in shambles, because that's the first phase, right? That's not our destiny, but that's like the first phase. So that's just a sneak peek at what the life path can show us. And that's just one number, right?
Yeah. I was like flipping through like my last 10 years and I'm like, oh yeah, that totally resonates. What about you, Christy?
Oh yeah, big time. I think of like the boss that we had being under her authority and just definitely.
Yeah. Christy and I used to work in the same office and then she moved to a different one, which was a better fit. And I'm still in that same office, but yeah, being under that authoritative thumb, like there's definitely like a hierarchy command that you want to obey. Just like it's, yeah, definitely typical office, I guess. Yeah, that really resonated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's kind of 2 layers to this. So one is that 8s are designed to be in leadership. And so if you are in a position where there isn't room for that, you're going to butt heads because you literally are designed to, whether you like it or not, you have that on your heart. You have this natural affinity to lean into leadership because the 8s are usually rooted in honor and rooted in integrity. 8s, you can usually understand and look at other leaders and kind of know when they're misusing power. So there's just this like natural affinity for that. So there's that piece of like, you know, sometimes even if you have a healthy leader around, you're still like, I don't like this because you're designed to run your own thing. But the other layer is a lot deeper. And that is that we have this instinct. The 8 usually has an instinct of giving away their power and saying, I don't have the power. I'm not capable of what they're capable of. They can make millions. I can't. They can have that position. I can't. That mindset piece is usually a really big one that I work on with 8s, that blocks them. And it's hilarious because usually when they look back over the timeline of their life, or they look back, they have other people mirror back their gifts. They are so well suited for stepping into leadership. And usually 8s have a lot of evidence that they manifest very, very easily. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's magic to my ears. Like I've heard that my whole life, like I'm a leader. And I was just like, I do not feel that like at all. And that's me giving my power away. So that's really validating what you shared. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And does that play into our personal relationships as well, like wanting to lead?
Oh,
or is that mainly business?
oh, yes. Yes. I am married to my best friend who is also an 8 life path man. And I remember our first date. I remember we were going geocaching. Do you know what geocaching is?
No, I don't think.
It's so cool. It's where you go and you find these little like secret treasures that other people have planted around like hiking trails. Anyways, we were going geocaching. It was our first date. I'll never forget Nick saying, so I looked up my numerology last night, and he's like, I'm an 8. And what does that mean for us? And I went, oh, well, that means one of us is going to have to yield and the other one is going to have to lead. And I was kind of joking. We figured it out. But no, like this is another super fun layer of numerology is, when you think about it in terms of love, it's so helpful. 8s, women that are 8s, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, usually they have to have careers. They have to have a business. If they are a stay-at-home mom, they treat it like a business. It's like there's this ambition and this drive to, I want to create. I want to do something. I want to see what I can do with my bank account. I want to see what I can do with my career. And it's so important to know that about ourselves, because not everybody is wired that way. I even was talking to Nick about like, there's this huge movement in traditionalism coming back, which I'm so here for. Like I have a dear girlfriend of mine. She makes sourdough bread and she feeds her chickens and she takes care of the kids and homeschools the kids. And I'm in awe of her. She's a goddess. Huge movement of traditionalism coming back. And I was talking to Nick about it. And I was like, I so love this. And I want more of these like women in my life. And I think that as an 8, if I was back in tribal days, like when we were living in teepees or something, I would still, the 8 would be going to the market and selling things. The 8, like, you know what I mean? Like the 8 would be warrior with the bow and arrow going to achieve the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's so helpful to know these things. And this is nuanced. It also depends on the other numbers in your chart of how intense that urge is to produce, to create, to manifest. But these are all words that are very powerful for the 8 life path.
That's really good. And that's kind of like what people will be kind of getting into then for this year. Because I kind of feel bad. We're talking about me and Christy's life number here, but that is the energy for the whole year as well. People are really going to kind of get into their groove, hopefully, right? If they kind of listen to that tinge.
Yeah. So I think that the universal year is, we are all called to develop in this area. So this is a year where the potential is to manifest at higher levels, to defy the odds, and to see things move, to see the mountains move in your life. So that's potential, but it's really based upon, are you going to align with the deeper magic of the 8, which is, I am the creator and I am the CEO of my life. And you guys, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy, because what that means then is you have to, first of all, know what you want. Knowing your values helps that, right? Like you set your goals based on your values, based on the things that you uncovered last year. That's a step that most people don't take. Actually did a podcast on this, like that the biggest manifestation blocks for the 8, or the biggest hurdles to overcome in 2024. One of them is doing what most people don't do, which is declaring what you really want. Most people don't even do that. It's painful. It's scary to say, you know what? I really want this. I'm going to go for this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to set my sights on that. That's the energy of the 8. The 8 is the goal setter. If you picture the CEO does not have their head in the sands. They are not just head in the clouds. They're like, here's my goal. And what am I going to do to make it happen? Right. And it doesn't sound very spiritual. Like for those of us who are very much into the esoteric, this sounds kind of bro-y. It sounds kind of like, it sounds kind of like that kind of thing, but that is the 8. And it's here to teach us, if you want something, you have to declare it to the universe. And then you have to really set your sights on it, focus on it, and go for it, And so that's like the energy here is very much around stepping into the role of the creator. And so then this thing happens. When you do that, you get clear on what you want. You start to set the goals, break it down into bite-sized pieces. Then what oftentimes happens for a lot of us is we start to run into those painful areas where within ourselves or even in our environment that says we can't have it. All of the reasons we can't. Even if this is like a spouse, a partner, I talk to clients every day about the characters in their lives or the characters from their past that tell them they can't have it. They shouldn't have it. And that's where most people definitely stop, right? Most people definitely stop there. They hit that wall. And what we are being enacted to do this year is to move through that, to challenge that, and to say, I decide to have this. I decide to heighten the standards, even if my friend group isn't, my husband or wife or spouse isn't, my kids aren't, the people in my industry aren't. I'm still going to choose it. And this, I think, is why 8s are known as leaders. 8s are not the ones that are like, yay, I want to lead. Like, that's not typically how it looks. 8s become leaders because they have this conviction to something that is just like second nature. It's like, I know I can. Like, I know it's possible. And I just have to figure out how. I'm like so here for 2024 because I'm an 8 life path. And I was just thinking about this last night of like, I have so much content this year because this is literally like my life story, to talk about all these things that we're covering right now. But it's really deep stuff.
It is. And like just digging in and getting uncomfortable and unturning those rocks. Like that's where sometimes I get to that point and I'm like, no, I'm done. But like that's where the magic happens if you just keep going.
If you open up, a numerology book and you read about the traits of the 8, one of the things you'll read is perseverance and dedication. A lot of athletes have the 8 in their chart. And I think the reason why is because when an 8 is high functioning, there is a thrill in pushing the edges of what you're capable of. So it's not about manifesting the thing or the end result, but it's really about like proving that you're capable, like proving that you can just like manifest that next $10 or manifest that next 2 clients or that next, you can change the tire on your car. Like, I don't know, like, but it's that energy. It's like, I am capable. I have agency. I can do this, and that's one of the really magical elements of the 8 is that they persevere and they're dedicated and they don't give up because they're just so thrilled at seeing their own growth and capability in learning a skill.
Yeah, this is definitely the year. If you wanted to pursue something or really like start your own, like this is really the year to jump into it and do it. Really come into your power. I love this. I'm so excited for this year. I feel like Christy and I have a lot of things we have planned and to really like jumpstart, I don't know, more with this podcast, more with our own careers and really take things head on.
and I think that it's right timing, because the 7 comes before the 8 for a reason. It's like, if our roots aren't deep enough into what we're committed to, if we haven't collected the data about this is the thing that I'm going to stand up for, it might not be time, right? And time isn't even a factor, but it's like we have to unearth that first. But I think that, yeah, this is a year where collectively we're all awakened to, I am ready. I have developed I have gotten the downloads. I do have the data. And now it's time. Now it's time to come out of the cave and to share, to come out of the cave and to manifest what is within me outward.
Yes.
Yeah.
That actually scares the shit out of me, but it's very exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it is. Yes.
Nat, can you talk about like how people find out what their life path number is? And then could we quickly do like just a quick one-liner of what it means if you're each number? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I do encourage listeners to just Google, because it's fast and easy, to just Google life path numerology calculator or life path calculator. I will tell you how to do it by hand though. So here's what you do. You take your month, your day, and your year of birth. The method that I use is you add each section of your birth date down to a single digit. So for instance, just focus on the month. If you were born in December, 1 + 2 = 3. Okay. If you were born November, leave it 11. This is where a calculator comes in handy, but master numbers 11, 22, and 33, we don't add down. So you were born in January, you're good, right? So, because that's just a 1. So then move on to your day. If you were born the 23rd, 2 + 3 = 5. If you were born on the 7th, there you go. You got 7. Then you go to the year and you add the year down to a single digit. 1983, 1 + 9 + 8 + 3. You just keep adding down until you get a single digit, which ends up being 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so then once you have,
did mine again.
Good. And so then once you have those 3 sections, each added down to a single digit or a master number, 11, 22, or 33, you add them down one more time until you get a single digit. If you come across 11, 22, or 33 when you're doing the final addition, leave it alone. That's a master number. Okay. All right. So let's go over what each of these means. So if you are a 1 life path, it means that you are here to be the pioneer. You are here to tread your own path, to go your own way, to be an original, innovative thinker, and to bring people into new realities, new ways of being. If you're a 2 life path, you are a peacemaker. You are a diplomat. You are here to bring love and connection and harmony. You're here to bring people together. If you're a 3, you are the artist or the creative. You are here to use your joyful self-expression to uplift others. A lot of comedians are 3s, people on stage, teachers, things like that. The 4 life path is known as the builder or the pragmatist. They're here to bring form and foundation in. They're here to stabilize things. They're here to build things. 5 life paths are the freedom seekers, the adventurers. They're here to liberate themselves and others from the confines that bind. They're the free wild spirits for sure. And 6s are the healers, the caregivers. They use love as a transformative force for their environment. 7s are the seekers, the mystics. They are here to dive deep into the understructure of life, find core truths, and share them with others. The 8s, those are the CEOs, the powerhouses. We are here to accumulate wealth, power, and abundance and share it with others. Nines are the wise old souls and the humanitarians who, as cliche as it sounds, are here to bring light to darkness. They're here to make the world a better place. And then you have the master numbers. So 11s, if you have an 11 life path, you are the spiritual messenger. You're here to illuminate and enlighten the masses with original thought. If you are a 22, you're known as the master architect. 22s are here to, they're here to restructure institutions. They are here to actually make dreams come true. 22 is a coveted number. I think all of the numbers are miraculous and amazing, but the 22 is ones that you hear in books is like, oh, you've got the vision, and then you also have the practical know-how of how to make it happen. And then you have the 33s, which are the master teachers. They use their creativity to uplift and teach the masses a new way of being and a new way of living. So there's the general overview.
That's
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious,
So
are master numbers, are they like unique, or are they just kind of they're sprinkled everywhere?
I actually think you'd be shocked. When I first started, I had read that they were rare.
Yeah.
And in my experience, just anecdotally, they're not uncommon. Like, a good portion of my clients have a master number somewhere in their chart. Not all of them. But I think master numbers are just where there is a particular focus on a superpower. So like a double one, for instance, is somebody who has a heightened level of sensitivity and a heightened level of connection to insight. The 22s have the superpower of connection and empathy. 33s have a superpower of creativity. So it's sort of just like a big emphasis on a particular superpower.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's funny, like of course, like when I heard you on the podcast, I did mine and then I did Christy's right away because I was curious what hers was. And then I did my partner's as well. And he got 11. And when I ran his human design, when we look at his astrology chart, like everything in his chart says like psychic, spiritual path. It's so funny that everything like aligns, but different modalities kind of say all the same thing in the end.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Does he know this? Has he accepted it yet?
Oh yeah. I said, stop stealing my dreams. Like, get your own. Like, yeah, it's too funny. Can you talk about like the expression number as well? I find that really interesting.
Yeah, the expression number is so much fun. It's I shouldn't have a favorite position, but I've developed quite a liking to the expression number only because, again, I think we have a deficiency in our society of truly being witnessed and seen for who we are. Our life path is our calling. It's what we are called to do, right? But our expression number, which is derived from our birth name, what is written on our birth certificate, this speaks to who we are. This speaks to the gifts that we were given to be successful in our mission. So all of the numbers that I just went through, it's just a very similar list, but instead of it being like your calling or what you're here to do, this is just like who you are. It's just this set of gifts that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's harder to calculate. Like that's because it's a more complicated alphanumerical system, but there are online calculators for that. Because basically each digit or each letter in the alphabet has a number assigned to it. And so you reduce it to that number and then you start adding.
Okay, good. So people can just Google their expression number and then
Yes.
And then find that out. And then obviously if they go to you, they're going to get a much more in-depth, you're taking accounts all of the different numbers to give them an actual personal reading.
Yeah. Yeah. So I specialize in working with people who they want to take their impact to the next level. And so we cover their core numbers in their chart in the intro session. So we cover their life path and expression number in the intro session, because those are the two numbers that I've found really move the needle in clarity on career, on impact, on calling. And also kind of figuring out, why are you blocked, or why are you at a ceiling of income, or why are you at a ceiling of impact? We can usually find that out pretty fast when we look at those two numbers. And then just because of my chart, I have a 2 in my chart. My whole business framework is centered on long-term relationship. I have on my website, I don't do one night stands, and I never have. It's just like who I like to go deep with people, and that's just how I am. And so I specialize in working with people in a 6-month program where our job together is to help them remember who they are, really focus on activating these core numbers and trusting their inner wisdom and trusting their relationship with the universe to manifest this life where they get to be paid to be who they are. That is my biggest passion, is for people to know that they can be seen, be heard, be witnessed, be paid for who they really are. And I think that numerology and learning about your expression number, your life path number, it's such a fun way to go, oh, this is who I am. And actually I can start to broadcast this. I can actually figure out ways to bring my light into the world and be compensated for who I am. So I don't typically I don't even do numerology charts for clients. We literally just talk about their two numbers, and we just dive deep into advanced ways to bring those numbers to life.
That's amazing. Like, I think it's like this, so many people want those answers, and to get paid for just doing what you should naturally be doing. Isn't that what all of us want? I know that's what Christy and I are striving for sure.
Definitely as 8s too, right? Because 8s are like, I want to move this into business. I want to move this into commerce. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why we're here. To me, that's what all of these modalities are: astrology, numerology, human design. Like, all of these things are ways to remember and sanctify how we were designed, so that we can live it up in this short timeline that we have. We're not here for very long, so we might as well be who we want to be and do what we want to do. Yeah, that's kind of my body of work right there.
I love that. And that is so powerful, because I just think growing up, going to school, in a traditional setting, you're told who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be when you grow up. And it's just being in my 30s now, I feel like I'm just unpacking all of those limiting beliefs and trying to find out who am I and what am I supposed to do, and just shut everything else out. And I kind of feel like that's what my 7 last year was just going within, being the hermit. Just I was isolated and with my own feelings, and it sucked. Honestly, it was a really hard year, but looking at it now, it's I had to go through there to get where I am now. So now I know my values, like you said, and freedom is a huge one for me, and just building a life off of that. So yeah, that brought me so much clarity, everything you said.
Oh, good. That makes me so happy. And you know what's funny about us as 8s is that 7s do suck, because it's so unnatural to slow down. We're so about being productive, and we're known as workaholics as well. But you would not have gotten the download on this next beautiful thing that you're here to create if you weren't forced to sit in that uncomfortable place of last year. And I know that that's in my own way, that's true for me too. So I hear you. And I think that that's why this year is so exciting, is because it's okay, we're ready. We've gotten the downloads, and now let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And that just gave me chills, just thinking of that excitement. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah. And just how I ended off this year, as we go into this new one. I'm counting February as the beginning of this year now. Yeah, and just being like physically forced to stay home because me and my son were both like sick, and it was like 2 weeks. It
Oh,
felt like my whole mental health was depleting because I felt like I had zero purpose. It was just like this, that explains absolutely everything. And my spouse was like, well, usually this means we're just gonna level up like the next round, and like so supportive. And it totally is true. I'm so excited to bring in this year of like, let's just do it.
yes. Yes, me too. I'm saying my mantra every day. I think my best girlfriend's gotten sick of it. Because I Voxer. I use this app Voxer. I Voxer every morning. And I'm like, let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. That's my mantra. But it's like,
Love it.
but that's the energy that is the 8. It's like we get to manifest, we get to co-create. So let's go. Right. It can be messy. We can stumble a lot. I know that I'm stumbling, but we keep coming back to, I am the co-creator. I am the CEO. I get to have a say over how things go. Right.
Yeah. And everybody wants to be in control of their own life. And you are creating your own reality. And this is the year to create something freaking awesome. So yeah,
Yes. Yes.
let's go. I love that.
Yes.
Oh, Natalie, did you have anything else that you're working on currently that you want to let people know about? Any projects? You have your own podcast? You should tell people about that. It's very good. We both have tuned in.
Oh yeah, yeah. So if people want more of this work, there's a couple of ways to kind of to tune in. So on my website, natolson.com, I think it's also numerologychick.com. Same domains, go to the same place. There is a podcast link there, and that is where once a month I upload an episode where we're diving deep into the energy of the year or into common topics that I cover with my clients behind the scenes. So that's a wonderful way if you're new to numerology to like dive deep into sort of the nuances of these fingerprints of God. And then I also have a membership, Patreon membership. It's called the 7th Floor, where you get a bonus episode for $5 a month. And usually in that bonus episode, what I'm doing this year is I'm answering listener questions. So I did a podcast episode here in January on 2024, where I dove deep into the 8, exactly what to do to be successful with this year. And people left questions that then I can answer over on Patreon so that we can kind of dive deeper together. So those are 2 ways that you can kind of dive into the work a little bit. I also am pretty active on Instagram. I usually post 1 video a week there. And then also I basically post 5 times a week on Instagram. That's another way to get tuned in. And then if you want to like dive deep and have a spiritual bestie in your pocket that is going to remind you of how beautiful and amazing you are. I have my intro sessions where you get to know what your numbers are. And I have a 1 month and a 6 month program. So all of that is listed on the Work With Me page on my website. And if you have any questions on it, anybody that's listening is like, I want to figure out if this is the right fit for me, go ahead and email me and we can chat.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll put all those links in our show notes, of course. That Patreon, that's a hell of a deal that people get to email you questions. Like,
Yeah, and just to
that is the move.
And just to clarify, I just only answer 1 question a month, so it's not like I'm in there giving. Well, no, because I actually,
That would be
I had
so
to do
much.
that in the beginning. Yeah, but like if I get a common question, I'll be like, okay, that's the one we're going to cover this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Anything else, Christy, before we go?
No, I think that's it.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Oh, so nice talking to you.
Yes.
You too, you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, that was so much fun. I could talk to you for hours and just pick your brains. You're just so full of knowledge, and just the way you explain things is just so digestible. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, you guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm doing the card pull for the month. February here. And I don't know if anybody else out there that reads cards always makes a point of looking at the bottom card. I know Amanda does, and I always do. And it's funny, I pulled 3 different decks out for this reading. I don't know, I don't stick to one deck anymore. I like pulling more out, and then they kind of play off each other, tell a story. But anyway, so I looked at the bottom of each of these decks, and I was like, wow, this like totally is in line with what exactly we talked about with Natalie. So I was like, and then I pulled cards, did my shuffle, pull them out, and I was like, no, I'm rolling with the bottom of the deck here. So that's what this message is for February. So the first card is the 7-Star Sisters, Birthing Creations, Tapestry of Life and Expression. And that just like plays into what like Natalie was saying, like this 8 year is all about like expressing your true self, like bringing that into the world, like what lights your heart up. And it's like this picture of these women dancing. It's like that expression of dance like nobody's watching. That's what I feel like I want to do this year. You know, I hold back myself from like so many people's different judgments, or like, what are they going to think about me if I say this or do that? Am I going to be weird, you know? And I think a lot of people have that thought in the back of their head when they really want to express that feeling in their heart. And this year, I feel like if we all do it, we can do it together. Like, why not? That makes me so excited about what the magic can happen this year, like as a collective, if everybody steps into their own CEO, like what, like, I don't know. I don't even have the words for like how exciting that can be. And the next card I got was a fiery climax approaches. So it's full moon in Aries. That's the energy of this card from the Numerology deck. And what Natalie was saying about like February, she actually said like the middle of February, that's like go time. And that's what like this card is like bringing up, like that fiery energy that you need to move forward, like that Aries energy. Like that's the first sign in the zodiac. It's like she said, like, let's go, let's get things done, let's get moving. So you got, well, I guess when this airs, it will be February, but you still got like a few more days before you can feel that urge to get the ducks in. Well, the ducks should be in a row by now, but it's like getting that energy to get going. So that's what that card is. And the next card, expect miracles. And it's like this angel with her hands out, and she's like looking up at the sky, and she's receiving. And I just feel like that's like the magic of this year. Like when we fully step into our heart and do something that is true to who we are, and we show the world who we are, who our authentic self is, I believe that's when miracles can happen, because we are living like as our authentic beings, how whoever you want to call it, like God, divine source has created us. And I know my Akashic teacher, she said like, you can't fail at being yourself. So it's just like peeling back those layers and finding like out who you truly are and expressing that into the world. And that is where the magic truly lies. And that's like something that I like love showing people when like through my Akashic work, is just like showing people what their magic is, what their authentic self is, and then expressing that, and then just watching how the world unfolds. So yeah, okay. Well, I think that's it for that.
That card pull was so in alignment
Yeah.
with that episode. No wonder you wanted to choose those cards. You're like, whoa. And you know, that really resonated about that February, because I'm just thinking of stuff that I have coming up at the beginning of February. And then I was like, yeah, that's probably going to line up right to that mid-February month when I really start like taking action, taking courses, and like getting things going with Reiki with Manda, right? And with the Birch Soul. So it's like, wow, spot on.
Yeah, you can't make that shit up.
No,
like that's just like, so we got like a couple more weeks of like a little bit of hermit here, and then it's go time.
Yeah, that was so validating too, because I was going nuts hermiting in, and that's totally my design. So super cool.
Yep. Yeah, you needed to hear that message today. Like from Natalie. That was, that hit home for me too when she's talking about victimhood and all that too. And I was like,
Oh my
yep, that's
God.
where I was living. Like,
Yeah. Oh man, me too. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, so good. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Christy, for that. And thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate the comments and the messages that we get and the reviews. They really help out the podcast. So thank you so much for taking that time and just hitting that 5 stars. It means a lot to us. We see them, we notice. So thank you for that.
yes, thank you so, so much. Yeah, if you love this episode, even like share it with a friend. I don't know. I love when Amanda shares new episodes with me that I've never heard of before. And yeah, if someone's into Reiki or curious about it or numerology, share this episode.
Mm-hmm. And you can find us on our own personal pages. Mine is Reiki with Manda, and I have booking on there. If anyone is interested in getting in contact and having a Reiki session, feel free to shoot me a DM too if you have any questions, if my booking's not as clear as it should be.
Yes, and mine is The Birch Soul on Instagram. I have a booking link there as well. If you're interested in diving deeper with me, I do distance Reiki and card pulls. And again, ask me any questions you have as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, until next time, thanks everyone.
See you later.